What is up, y'all? Welcome on back as I am here to review 28 Weeks Later in preparation of 28 Years Later coming out this week. Super fucking excited for that movie to finally come out. It is probably my most anticipated movie of the year. So if you have not watched 28 Weeks Later and you don't want to be spoiled on anything, this is where you pause, go watch the movie, and then come back. I want to say 28 Weeks Later is on sale right now digitally. So go check it out and then come back for this review because I will be talking full spoilers from this point forward because I really don't think that I can talk about this movie without diving into spoilers. Which leads me to my full disclaimer that I want to just throw out there to y'all before I even start this. I watched this movie when it came out. I was working in the theater at the time, and I remember really loving this movie. I loved 28 Days Later, and I loved 28 Weeks Later. I thought they were really great movies, but I haven't seen this movie since it came out, probably. This just wasn't what I went to on a regular basis. It was, if I wanted to visit this world, if I wanted to visit a zombie movie, it was 28 Days Later that I went to. So that's the one that I would just watch on occasion. So never really went back to 28 Weeks Later since it came out, pretty much. So I was hyped going into this movie. Super hyped. I couldn't wait to revisit this movie and see where it gauged on the scale of, like, was it as good as 28 Days Later? Was it just like a step below, even better? I don't know. I was very excited to find that out. And I just want to throw this disclaimer out there that if you are a huge fan of 28 Weeks Later, you're probably not going to want to watch this review or listen to it if you're one of our Patreon supporters. I watched this movie probably about a week ago, and I have been trying to collect my thoughts on this for a week. I have really been trying to avoid doing this review for the past week because I feel like I'm going to be in the minority on this. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to be this guy that, oh, you don't fucking like good shit. Like, okay. Like, I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm probably in the minority on this. I read some reviews, and yeah, some of it highlights kind of the complaints that I have, but a lot of people love this movie. So I'm just throwing that disclaimer out there right now. If you go forward with this review, I'm not going to be glazing it. I'm not going to be jerking it off. I am going to be talking shit about this movie because not only did it take me a week to really kind of collect my thoughts on this and try to avoid doing this review, but it's taken me a week to really talk myself out of saying that I really hate this movie. I really try to find the positive things in every movie because I want to love movies. I love watching movies in general. So I hate hating movies, but just every once in a while you get that one movie that just really just kind of pisses you off when you watch it, and 28 Weeks Later is that movie for me. So with all that being said, let's jump into why I dislike this movie so much. I think when you watch this movie back to back, and I get what they were going for with this movie, they're really going for the pandemic style movie where they're trying to contain the virus. And a lot of that hits home. And I'm not saying when I dislike this movie, I'm not saying that there's nothing good about it. There are some truly great scenes in 28 Weeks Later. Like, some of the sequences here, I put it up there with the original in terms of how good it is. It's just really a lot of the in-between bullshit that I wasn't a fan of, and some of the story elements for sure. But I get what they were going for. They're going with that pandemic style movie where they're trying to contain the rage virus, and a lot of that is haunting now more so than it was back in whatever year this came out. Was that 2008 or something like that? It's more horrifying now because of what we went through back in 2020. And if we're being completely honest, like, that's a natural story progression of what happened in 28 Days Later. Like, naturally, after what happened, they're gonna try to contain the virus. They're gonna try to wipe it out, and then they're gonna try to restart civilization. I think that is a natural progression of a storyline, and then that's when they realize that there's possibly a cure. But that's really where the storyline stops for me. That's where I kind of say, okay, I'm good with that, but everything else in this movie, storyline wise, not for me. And before I jump into some of the moments that I really don't like, I just want to mention just how great the opening sequence is. The opening sequence here goes from 0 to 100 in like 5 seconds. Like, that shit pops off. And it is a really, really great opening sequence for this movie. The horde of infected just chasing Don throughout that field, and then he gets to the boat and is able to escape. The chaos of the quick editing like we got from 28 Days Later. Not only that, but like the overhead shots, I just think a lot of the camera work here does a good job of just bringing you back into this franchise. So that opening sequence is a 10 out of 10 for me. And that was the very beginning of the movie. You see this family and they're talking and it's just pitch black inside this house. And then when that little kid comes and knocks on the door, they open it and it's just this bright light. The contrast between the light and the dark there, really awesome, because you're fooled into this thinking that it's like nighttime outside. They don't see any light. The contrast between the light and the dark, I think, was done really, really well. And that's when we're introduced to Don, who is like an absolute piece of shit dude. Like, that dude can go fuck himself. I understand that they don't want us to like that dude, but fuck that dude. They end up going into the upstairs bedroom and he just leaves his wife and that random kid in the room and he just saves himself. And that's when he's running across the field and having that truly great sequence of the horde chasing after him. And then later on in the movie finds out that his wife is still alive. And despite all the complaints that I have about this movie, which we'll get into in just a minute, just hold on, I really like this scene because we find out that his wife is alive. He finds out, and it's just like the facial expression on him just goes blank. Like he realizes that he just fucked up. And while that was funny and also a good sequence, I don't necessarily like the idea of the mom having survived. And I'm going to make my point here right now. So the horde is attacking that house. She has the infected in the room with her and they start chomping on her, fucking biting her, whatever, right? Why did they stop? They never stopped before. Did she just not taste good? Like, shout out. So you're telling me the mom survived without having any like physical injuries, like arm ripped off, neck ripped off, because they would have gone to town on her. And I'll even say this, like, let's say that when they taste her blood, it is it's like an instant fucking no for the infected. Okay, let's even give it that. But when they dive into her to bite her, they're going to fuck her up until they realize that, right? So there's really no change in her physical form from that scene to when we find her. And I just think it's kind of dumb, to be honest. I really didn't like them bringing the wife back into this. And then not only do they bring the wife back into this, but the kids, which I really did not like the kids in this movie. It's hard for me because, you know, if you've been watching or listening to the podcast for any length of time, especially with Nick on air, he fucking hates when they bring kids into movies because they're not great. But I don't even think it's the acting here. It's really the stupidity of their characters and also the decision making of like the director and the writers of what they are getting these kids to do. They end up getting back to the city. They end up finding their dad. And to me, I feel like these kids are old enough to realize how stupid some mistakes are. I feel like they definitely know right from wrong at this point with how old they are. I don't understand what they thought was a good idea of going to their old house, leaving the containment zone, going to their house to find a picture. And that's when they find their mom, which mom, again, survived this attack. And then she just so happens to be able to go back to the house. And did I mention that I hate things that happen conveniently? This movie is 80% shit just happens conveniently. But before I get ahead of myself, I'm going to continue with this scene. So the kids decide to go back to this house to get a picture of their mother. And they're going through the city and they're trying to get there faster. So they need to steal something, right? They need a bike or a car or some shit to get there. Okay, I'm following. They enter this pizza joint. They see all these mopeds on the ground, and there's several of them, okay? And they walk into this pizza place. There is one dead person in this pizza place. He just so happens to have the key to the one moped that they try. Again, I am nitpicking the fuck out of this, but I hate when things happen conveniently in movies. It's a fucking pet peeve of mine. Like, give me something where like there's only one moped out there. Oh, that's the one key to the one moped, or even put them on the by the door with the keys. I don't know, something, and I would have been like, okay, that's fine. I don't know why they would put their keys right there, but nonetheless, I'm fine with that. But they find the one person with the one key, and it goes to the one moped that they tried. So a lot of convenient things happening all at once. So they end up going to the house, which again, mom survives this attack and just so happens to be at the house at the time that they are there. And that's when the mom comes back into the story. And just a lot of convenient things are happening for the sake of the story that I just could not get behind. I'm not a fan of the mom coming back in this situation. I'm not a fan of these kids going off on their own. I just feel like those are just stupid decisions that, like, my kids are younger than those kids in the movie, and I don't feel like they would have done something so fucking stupid. And then obviously when they find her, they get her back to the containment zone and they're drawing blood on her. They figure out that she's immune, but the soldiers are like, fuck that, let's fucking kill her. That seems like a good idea in the movie for sure. If you're going to bring her back into the movie, obviously they know she's infected, but we can't have her around. I don't give a shit if it leads to something else. We can't risk her getting out and her infecting a bunch of people and starting this all over again. Like, I get it from a story perspective of like that seems like a progression of the storyline for sure. And that just goes back to highlight that there are some really great things here, but it's surrounded by bullshit. So she's laying on the table, and then that's when Don comes in there. Again, absolute piece of shit. And dude is just kissing her, and that's when we really get the whole transference of like saliva, and she had a little wound on there, so we get it from just kissing where he now changes into one of the infected. I really liked this scene, and I really liked the evolution of kind of building out this world a little bit more, because all we've gotten so far, we've gotten a drop of blood in the eye, we've gotten some bites. That's really what we've gotten in terms of how these people are getting infected. Now we're getting someone infected by a kiss, potentially a wound on the lips when they're kissing. So I do like that aspect, and this scene in general is pretty good. The scene where Don goes crazy on his wife, fucking crazy. Okay, gouging her eyes out. Like, that dude was feeling some type of fucking way about her. If we're being completely honest, we haven't seen the infected really, like, this seemed personal to him. Okay, this was she has been nagging me for fucking years type of eye gouging. I really enjoyed the scene. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the scene, but I found it hilarious at the same time, because up to this point, it's just been them chowing down on people and really no thought processes going on. This one seemed like he was more advanced for sure. And they don't really mention that throughout the movie. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but it seems like he's just a more advanced infected, and he is gouging her eyes out. It seems super personal. Why did she get attacked here and not at the house? Because we have old Dawn gouging her eyes out. She's supposedly infected. And this is where I have another huge issue with the movie. We have her where she's infected. They said she's infected, but we have Dawn attacking her. So are the zombies or the infected attacking other infected? Because if that's the case, then why don't they attack each other more throughout the movie? And if you use the point of, well, that's why she survived the first attack, was because she was infected. They realized that she's infected and they didn't go after her. Okay, that's fine. Maybe she didn't get attacked at all. Then this scene doesn't make any fucking sense, because now we have Dawn attacking her. So there's just inconsistencies with the storyline here that just rubs me the wrong way. Once he takes out his personal shit on the wife, that's when he becomes like this Mr. X character for the rest of the movie. And he is like just stalking his kids. And if you want to say he's a more advanced infected, again, okay, I just don't like it. I don't like it. If I wanted that, I would go play Resident Evil and have Mr. X try to fuck me every 5 seconds in that game. But let's talk about how they tried to contain everything. Once once his wife gets killed and he starts infecting the other soldiers, that's really when the movie starts popping off in terms of like tension and violence and so on and so forth. And this is really where the movie kind of left me. This is where I kind of gave up on the movie because we're just seeing scenes with characters that I just don't really give a shit about. I don't care about the dad. I don't care about the kids because they really haven't done any legwork to make me care for those characters. And then we have Jeremy Renner's character, who's one of the soldiers that ends up trying to save a bunch of people. I care more about his character more than any of them because I think he did a good job of trying to make us like him. And that's really the only reason that I would say that I became somewhat invested in his character. But for the most part, I just don't give a shit about any of these characters. So once the movie pops off and now infected people are running around everywhere in the containment zone, it's hard to stay invested in this movie when I don't care what happens. If you go back to 28 Days Later, I cared about all those characters. But those characters were interesting. These characters are far from it. Don is interesting up until the point that he becomes infected. And at that point, he is just this random Mr. X traveling through the streets. And really, we don't get much of him other than some quick shots of him just standing there and following them. So really not super interested or invested in these characters. So when everything pops off, I just don't give a shit. Now, with that being said, I do think that while it is insane to open fire on everybody, and it just goes to show you like the fear of what these people are going through in this super overwhelming situation. Like, I get it. There's no right choice here. And that begs the question, has humanity been lost all the way around? The infected have lost their humanity. And now we have soldiers open fire on people in the streets. They've lost their humanity. And I think that's an interesting theme to kind of point out for this movie. And I really do like the underlying theme here of people losing their humanity. But I just don't give a shit about whether these people are dying in this movie because I don't care about the characters. And that's really my biggest problem with the movie in general is it just loses my attention about 30, 45 minutes into the movie. Once everything pops off, and then that's when they decide, well, we're not killing them by shooting them. So let's just go ahead and bomb everything. And I get it from a containment trying to prevent another outbreak. I get it. That's probably the natural progression of the storyline, which is fine. The bombing scene, really cool. The CGI here, fucking terrible. Okay. Did not age well whatsoever. But in terms of the story and thematically what's going on here, where the progression of trying to contain everything, this 100% works for me. I just love the bombing scene. Just the CGI is much to be desired here. But again, what it does in terms of the story and themes, I'm right there with it. And so, yeah, those are my biggest issues with the movies. 80% of it is just shit happening for the sake of convenience. It just didn't feel like they put a lot of effort into the overall story to me. There are some great moments throughout this movie, some moments that I really like, but also in those moments, there's shit that I didn't like. I really did not care for this movie. I didn't care for the characters. The score, other than the theme song is fucking great. That is one of the best theme songs for a movie, fucking period. But in terms of the overall score, not a fan of it. And I was just left disappointed with this movie when it's all said and done. But like I said earlier, I know that I'm in the minority on this review. So I'm not saying that I won't ever give this movie another try like in a couple years. But right now, I would just say that I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's just too much bullshit. Too much of my pet peeves happen in this movie. It's a personal thing. I understand that the majority out there do like this movie a lot. But nonetheless, leave me a comment down below of how you feel about 28 Weeks Later. If I said something that is completely off base, let me know down below and we can have a little discussion on that. But yeah, 28 years later, next fucking week. So ready for that movie. I can't even tell you. We are doing a meetup of 28 years later at the Tavern in Covington. If you are interested in joining us, by all means, hit us up and come hang out with us. Guys, that is going to be it from me. I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.